Go ahead.
Mhm.
Good evening. Welcome to Clayton and Derek iPad. And we want to give you a not podcast. Hey, look, man, get off me, would you? Welcome to Derek and Clayton. No. Uh, but anyway, look, we want to give you a little feedback. A little rehearsal of what we talked about a couple weeks ago: leadership quality and leadership character. And we're gonna give you some type of something for you to think about for the upcoming year. And I think it's important that we talk about these things because it's going to benefit you in the long term. And we talked about the leadership character, and we talked about personal image. And so, Sergeant Taylor, what can you talk about on that?
Um, yes, I mean, Clayton, man, I think this is an ideal time, being that we're getting ready to close the 2024 year.
Right.
I think it's a time to just kind of sit and reflect, do a reflection of um, it's kind of a self-reflection of who you were this year and who you planning on being in 2025. Most time people, they have New Year's resolution. They
Right.
come up with
We all got them.
new year, new me. And, I think you got to identify the old you before you can develop a new you. You know what I'm saying?
That
So
is
I
important.
think, yes. And I think this reflection, um, just a review, in the military, we call it an AAR, an after action review. You can kind of review your actions, your 2024 actions, and see what you did right, what you didn't do right so well. In the business world, they call it a SWOT analysis: strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. So I think in order to be a new you in 2025, you have to do an evaluation of the old you. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So
What?
I would say, man, let's just kind of help everybody using some of our military,
Right.
attributes and competencies where people can evaluate themselves. It's not me evaluate Clayton, Clayton evaluating me.
Right.
Is where you get into your own little private space and reflect on yourself.
And I think sometimes when you start reflecting on yourself and then you begin to look at other people, and if you're honest with yourself, you might realize that the problem is within yourself.
It is, man.
And that's why I say self-evaluation or self-assessment, what you just said,
Mhm.
before I'm able to judge Derek. Okay, do an evaluation of myself.
Exactly. And my teachers teaches me that in order to be successful, uh, the first foundation or the first step is knowing self.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to know your own strengths and your weaknesses. Um, hey, what better time to do it than now? We're closing out a year 2024. Um, we we're in a season of giving.
Yes,
So
yes.
why not just give yourself some time to think about self and evaluate self to be better?
Right.
It's just simply trying to be better.
And I guess one of the main objections, you got to be true and be honest with yourself.
Exactly.
So you're going to run across some roadblocks, some of the questions that you're not going to be able to answer, and that may be where the problem lies at.
Exactly, man. And you got to, and sometimes, once we identify the problems and you find out that you can't solve the problem, you can't be afraid to ask for help,
Mm-hmm.
and also, like you said, be truthful with yourself. Sometimes it can be a little painful,
Mm-hmm.
So just all the baggage that we brought from our childhood to who we are now, it is what it is,
Right, right,
and we just got to accept it for what it is. And the only way to get better is to
right,
identify it.
right. And I think what would be some of the questions that you would recommend that people's ask themselves? If I'm going, some people may not know where to start at. What kind of questions that you think we should ask them? What type of person I am? What suggestion would you give?
I don't, I'm always, I feel led to go back to the leadership characteristics, the leadership attributes and competency. If we learn how to apply them to self and
Mm-hmm.
evaluate self, I think it can help us. So I think we can always start with, have I been truthful with myself?
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of identify that with the values of loyalty. Have I been loyal to myself? Have I loved myself? You can use the L word and say, hey, do I love myself?
That's a good start.
Hey, sometimes we want other people to love us, but we don't even
That is absolutely
love
true.
ourselves, or we say we love ourselves, but are we sending mixed messages? We say we love ourselves, but your action says something totally different. So have I been loyal? We can start right there.
Right.
Right there.
And if you could reemphasize and kind of piggyback, what are those 7 steps that?
Okay, it's 7 values that they teach us in the Army for leadership. The 7 leadership values, and it's LDR, which is an abbreviation for leader, and then SHIP: loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. We can use just those values alone to evaluate ourselves. How we can apply them. They're normally applied to our subordinates, us as leaders, what we need to be, what a leader must be in order to be an effective leader. But you're first a leader of self. You're a leader of self first. So we can say, okay, have I been loyal to myself? Do I love myself? Have I been truthful with myself? Have I been lying to myself, but being true to everybody else?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's what we trying to do sometimes. We try to please everybody else only to be lying to ourselves.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
That is true. That is
So
absolutely true.
I mean, that's a big one right there. And you know what that tends to lead to, Clayton? It leads to low self-esteem. Is that we don't know how to esteem ourselves, and we are waiting for uh, approval,
Right.
affirmation, someone else to affirm us. We need to be validated by someone else, and we don't know how to love and validate ourselves. So I think that's a good one to start with, man. It's
okay. Let me ask you this one question. Why? What are some of the reasons that you think people don't love themselves? What that you would? What make them not love themselves? Is you think it because of the background, or they didn't get love, or they didn't?
That too, that, I mean, exactly what you're saying. And just my personal opinion is it can be from something that took place in childhood.
Right.
And it could be from there. It could be that you are waiting for affirmation from others, that we don't know how to affirm ourselves. You know what I'm saying? We don't know how to love ourselves. We're looking to be accepted by others. Coming up as a child, we have this thing called bullying.
Right. That's
you know what I'm saying. So, and being bullied can cause you to not love yourself.
That's true.
You tend to believe what people are saying.
That's true.
And that can carry on from childhood to adulthood.
Right.
And we bring those baggages all the way up to adulthood, and we don't know how to, in the military, we call it cut sling load, because though we cut sling load and dismiss those things and get rid of them in order to move forward a little faster,
Well, going to school, there was a lot of kids that we were laughed at. We called them dirty, nasty, buck teeth. And everywhere they go, they done develop that mentality that they're ugly.
Right.
Because they've been laughed at. And nobody have told them anything to build up their self-esteem. And that's one of the things that sometimes can cause people to reject you.
Exactly, man. And what we're doing here is just trying to, first help those that are listening and watching to develop a high self-esteem about themselves. That's one of the steps in order to be successful, is to look at self and identify self and accept self for who self is, not based on what other people are saying about you. Is who I am. Learn to communicate with yourself. Learn how to look in the mirror and tell yourself that you are enough, that you are beautiful, you are worthy. Like our spiritual teaching teaches us that I am. God said, tell them that I am that I am.
Right.
And the same thing, you have to be mindful of the tongue when you're talking to yourself, that I am wonderful. I am marvelous. I
Mhm.
am strong. I am, and in reverse, it could be I am sorry, I'm ugly,
You're right, and
so
that can have a barrier on kids when learning and depends on the environment they're coming out of.
hmm
And when we talk about the loyalty,
hmm
parents, look at yourself. Why your kids feel this way? Or why do you feel this way about yourself?
hmm
What happened in your life to cause you to do the things that you are doing?
hmm
And what are you going to do in order to, you have identified with your problem? What are you going to do to resolve those problems?
exactly, man. And again, it could be traditional. It can come down from generation to generation to generation. And if you don't stop and rectify those problems, identify those problems, and to realize that they are problems and do something about you're subject to pass it down to your kids,
That is true.
and
That
then
is,
then your kids are subject to pass it down to their kids. So it's got to stop somewhere. So why not stop
that-
with you now, 2024, and vow to yourself that, hey, I'm not going to carry uh this old self into a new year. We tend to when we're going into a new year, it's a new year, new me.
hey, Daryl, I'm going to the gym. I'm starting January 1st, and I'm
Uh,
going to lose me about 50.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's what we say. you
So
know
what you saying?
it's not about what you say, it's about what you do.
Okay, action.
So now, why is it, man? That's another form of being loyal to self. You know what the right things are, but
Mhm.
yet we don't have the strength
That's true.
to do them. We'll do it for someone else,
That's true. That
but
is
we
true.
won't do it for ourselves.
That is true.
You know what I'm saying? So what is that? What is that we're willing to neglect self and lie to self, but we're willing to be truthful and
To
to
someone
others?
else.
Exactly. So what is that? What is that? And again, whatever that is, we need to identify that.
Is it you? I think sometimes be low self-esteem.
Low self-esteem, because we want to be accepted.
It-
I'm
it-
willing to do what Clayton want me to do in order
exactly.
to be accepted by Clayton.
Right.
But yet we don't stop and think about those things. And then it's not until our old ripe age we realize all of our life we've been living a lie.
That's true.
All of our life we've been neglecting ourselves. All our life we haven't been loyal to ourselves. Now you tend to be down on self. So I think that's where it started at. It's about being truthful, being loyal, and loving self
Hmm.
first and foremost.
Right.
So that would be the first step. And the next step, I would say, duties and responsibilities to self. Are you being responsible for leading self? Are you fulfilling the duties and obligations to self? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's
Right.
amazing how we can go to a place of business,
Hmm.
right? Go to a job and fulfill duties and obligations on our job, but yet we can't do it for ourselves.
Neglect yourself.
Neglect yourself. You can wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning
Right. That's
in
a good
order to be
example.
there on time for a job,
Right.
but only to, when you supposed to do something for self, we'll say, nah, I'll put it off to later. I do it some other time. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think that's putting the the cart before the horse. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, it's much easier for the procrastinate.
And that's what we call it, procrastinate. That's
Right.
what it is.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's what I would call it. You got a million excuses,
mhm.
and none of those excuses apply to you.
And that is, I would say that's a form of procrastination, but I also would say that that's a form of neglect. When you're
Well,
neglecting
yeah, you're right.
self,
You're right.
and
Right.
how often, like you say, that at the beginning of the year, we say, hey, I want to lose some weight.
But I don't want to stop eating.
That's January the 1st,
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
January the 2nd. And it's amazing. You and I both did 20 plus years in the military.
Right.
So we saying 20 plus years, we had to be a soldier and an airman
Hmm.
for the Air Force and the United States Army, the military. And we had to do what thus said
Right. You're
our
right.
leadership
That's exactly.
for 20 years. In order to be effective and leave with honorable status, we had to do what somebody else told us to do.
That's true. Brother,
Be what somebody else told us to be.
Mhm.
Right? Yeah.
Turn it off.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
go right ahead, dear.
Yeah. So, but only not to be able to lead ourselves, you know. That's I don't know, man. I don't think we tend to look at it like that. Excuse us for a second.
Excuse me for a second.
Yeah. But back to just some tools to evaluate ourselves, to do a reflection on our self-assessment for the 2024 year in order to close it out, to be able to go into 2025 simply to be better, you know. um, and being better, it's a process. You know, it's not that way. Hey, okay, well, on December the 31st, I'm gonna leave the old me, and then on January the 1st, aha, I'm a new me. No, it's a process. And along this process, I think one of the things that we need to learn to do, Clayton, is to give ourselves grace.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Not to be so hard on ourselves. Because sometimes we could be our worst critic.
That's true.
You
I've been
know,
hard on myself.
You know, yeah,
Right.
and being hard on yourself is good. It's good to hold yourself accountable, but not so much where you so hard on yourself it causes you to have low self-esteem.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Again, we tend to give everybody else grace, but we don't give ourselves grace.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that's one of the things that we definitely need to be mindful of and to be able to take with us into 2025 is that grace that we give ourselves.
Mhm.
You know, so again, I think the second thing is duties and responsibilities to ourselves, for ourselves,
Mhm.
you know, and understand that, hey, for those of us that are in the working class or even in the business class, you're an entrepreneur, is if we're willing to do it for someone else, to make someone else better,
Right.
richer, wealthier, you know,
Why not be
that
able to
why
do it
not
for
be that
yourself?
for yourself?
Right.
Why not be that for yourself? Hey Malik, I don't no, I don't know if that was Malik. I had somebody on my TikTok that was asking to join. Hey man, ask to join again. I would love to have you. Hey, what we're doing is just kind of reflecting, man, just kind of reflecting on 2024 in order to make us better in 2025. But yes, Clayton, that would be the second thing, man. Having duties and responsibilities, fulfilling duties and responsibility. We know we have duties for self.
Right.
We know we have responsibilities, being able to fulfill those duties and not push them to the side or sweep them under the rug
Mhm.
in order to go do it for somebody else and do it to the best of our ability.
So all these here is under those 7 attributes.
Under the
And,
7
and, and,
values,
and you basically telling everybody, look, that loyalty come first.
loyalty.
Now you have to understand duties and responsibilities.
Exactly.
So I'm glad you explaining that to them
Mhm.
in that order where they can understand. Not everything come free.
Exactly. It's going to take some work.
Right.
Trust me, this thing, you know, again, if we're willing to work hard for someone else, why we're not willing to work hard for ourselves? You know, so understand it's a process.
Derek, do you think the reason why people don't want to work for themselves, you think that there's a fear factor involved? The reason why people would rather be up under somebody else's control than to take on responsibility for themselves.
And you're possibly right, man. You're possibly right. It is a fear of failure.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
a fear of failure. Two things that tends to hold us back from becoming everything that God has desired us to be: fear, failure, and another one is feedback. You know, we don't want somebody
You're right.
to evaluate us. You know, we tend to get a little defensive. You
Mhm.
know, so we don't try.
Right.
We don't try. I think we lose that the closer we get to adulthood. You know, as a kid, as a toddler or infant, they have no fear,
Right.
none. They don't. You know, we got to slow them down.
Right. That's
you know,
true.
hey, you tell him, hey, boy, go watch that boy. He gonna fall and hurt himself.
Mhm.
That baby running around. And we tend to impose our fears on the babies.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? They gonna climb. They see something up there, some candy. They're gonna try to climb to get it. They
Right.
don't have. So we impose our fear on them, only for them to become young adults, and they've developed that fear that we've imposed on them, and then to become an adult. Now they too fearful to even try something that they really enjoy doing.
But have you ever going through school? Have anyone ever told you, say, Derek, you can't do this? Hey, I'm gonna be a lawyer. Boy, you'll never be a lawyer. And when you people's telling you at an early age what you cannot be, it's very hard sometimes to overcome that unless you leave the environment.
Exactly, Clayton. If you're not of open-minded, self-thinker, critical thinker, creative thinker, for self, you would allow someone to impose
You're right.
their lack on you. You know, you
Mhm.
would allow somebody to impose their fear on you. That goes back to self-awareness.
That's
If you
true.
don't know who you are, somebody will tell you and make you what they want you to be.
Hey, that is an honest statement.
Exactly. So we have to be careful who we allow to speak things into our life. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I have these three characters as a logo. Is basically the hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil concept. It's like, hey, guard your ears, man. Guard your ears, because that tends to develop a habit. So
Right.
you got to be careful what you allow people to speak into your life.
Mhm.
Hey, man, that's a prayer of mine. Guard my ears, protect my ears. You know, give me the ability to not allow what people say to affect me unless it's positive. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? Because this environment is basically revolves around the environment that we're in. If you don't know how to navigate this environment, it'll consume you.
You're right.
It'll make you who it wants you to be.
That is true.
You
That is
know?
true. And that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that I will share with you as being raised up in a large family. And there was always, people putting you down. You can't do this and do that. But once I left the environment, I found out, man, I was a lot smarter than I thought I was.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, and again, you're right, man, because people tend to uh equate smarts with academia.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly. You
that's
said
smart. You
right.
know, am I able to pass a test and score a certain type of grade? And that's what they, you know, identify as being smart. But sometimes it ain't about how smart you are, is how you are smart.
Right.
You know what I'm
That,
saying?
that, that makes sense.
And we don't realize we have different types of intelligence.
Mhm.
It's just we don't tend to see ourselves as intelligent because we can't pass a test,
Right.
you know, this academia test. But we'll discuss it at a later time. You know, we have 8 types of intelligence, you know, and that's something that our people need to be mindful of, is being able to identify self, see where your strengths are,
Good
and
point.
then operate in that sphere. You know, operate in that sphere. If you enjoy working with your hands, that might be where you're intelligent at.
That's true.
You know what
That
I'm
is
saying?
absolutely right.
If you are just musically inclined, that might be where your intelligence. If you are physically inclined, you might need to operate like we are here in your gym.
Right.
You know, nobody can do it like Clayton. You know what I'm saying? Everybody can't do it like Clayton,
Right.
because this is where Clayton's
Right.
level of intelligence. Not to say that you're not intelligent in multiple of those spheres, but we know being in a gym and
Right.
being, you know, that's something that you are intelligent at. And we got to know that. We have to know that for ourselves.
So whatever. Now, I'm not a psychologist, and I know most people think I am. So whatever you focus on is where your heart is at. If this where I focus on most of my time working out in this gym, that's where my focus is going to be on. If this something going to be negative, I need to change my focus.
Exactly. I would say I would reverse that.
Okay.
I say most people tend to focus where their heart is.
And that could be good and bad.
Thank you.
All right. All right. So I've revised that.
Hey, what you enjoy, that tends to be it bad or good,
You're right.
just like drinking, smoking,
Right,
chasing women,
Right.
you know. So that tells me we have to start with
You're
heart
right.
first.
Right.
Got to get your heart right.
Right.
You know, get your heart right,
I'm
and
working
then
on-
go.
I'm working on mine.
your mind, and then and that heart is that inner being, that spiritual man.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's basically, you know, how, what do I feel passionate about?
Mhm.
What do I really feel passionate about? And to evaluate that and say, okay, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then to go say, okay, this is what I'm passionate about. Let me give some head knowledge about that.
Mhm.
Even if I'm not intelligent in that area, let me become smart in that area.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then I can do it. You
Mhm.
know, yeah. And that goes back to the competencies and the attributes. What a
Right.
leader must be, what a leader must know, what a leader must do.
Mhm.
The character of a man first.
So you said a couple weeks ago, the main objective of being a leader is to be able to, that word, what, influence?
It's influence. And then we talking about, you know, other people look at, they skip the step of being able to influence themselves, and
Right,
they
and
want to
you-
influence others.
That we going right back to
You
that
know,
thing.
it's
You're right.
your ability to influence you.
Mhm.
And going back to starting with the inner man first, that character of the person, those values: loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. Those values, the character of the man, the character of the woman, and then what a leader should be. And now going to the intellect, what a leader should know.
Mhm.
So it's based on what's in here. Let me get some head knowledge about what I should know, and then what I should do in order to be able to have something.
Right.
So what a leader must be, what a leader must know, what a leader must do in order to have what a leader should have
Mm.
for self first.
Got you.
For self, because you can't love someone, you can't be loyal to someone, you can't trust someone if you don't trust self.
That's true.
You know, because we tend to bring that into relationships, friendships, relationships, in the workplace. I have a trust factor. I have a problem trusting somebody. You know why? Because you got a problem trusting yourself.
That's true. Hey,
Yeah.
that's
Uh,
head knowledge right there.
exactly. So now I have a problem loving somebody because you got a problem loving yourself.
That's true. That is true.
I got a problem being loyal because I got a problem being loyal to myself.
But the only thing that what we trying to do, we're not trying to get nobody divorced and stuff like that. If you're hearing this on social media,
Mhm.
if you're very sensitive to this, and your other significant other hear it, and we're not directing this toward no one. We just giving you facts.
But this is, again, Clayton, you can use this to evaluate. This transcends industries.
Right.
You know, this is something that we learned in the military, but you could take this from the battlefield to the boardroom.
Mm-hmm.
You could take this from the battlefield to parenthood. You could take this from the battlefield to
Everywhere you
marriage.
go.
You could take it from the military to battlefield to the corporate office, to the spiritual leadership, to the corporate leadership. You can, you know, it transcends boundaries or industries. You know, we're trying to give this to develop self first.
Right.
We develop everything and everybody else, but we failed to invest in ourselves.
Right.
And we're just asking just to listen.
Right.
Just to listen, take this information, and to be able to use it to better self.
Right.
You know, hey, who know better than you what you need?
Right.
Who know better than you the type of person that you were in 2024? You know, you should be the subject matter expert of you.
Right. But have you ever had a guy that he was in the top position? He give more to his supervisor than he give to himself. Other words, his subordinate. Other words, he care more about his subordinate, care about himself.
Well, that is
it. Have you ever experienced it?
Well, I'm not going to say care more. Care, yes.
Right.
Empathy, yes. You know, being of selfless service in certain situations where I need to put the need of my subordinates above myself.
Right.
Yes, but care more about someone else do myself? No.
Right.
No, it's not for me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? No, I've learned to make sure that my cup
Yeah, that's
is
yeah,
full
yeah,
first.
right. Right. That makes sense. It makes
You
sense.
know, it's almost like using the cup and the salsa analogy. And people don't, like growing up, you see people where they drank tea with the cup sit on the salsa. And most people don't know that's just highfalutin. People, the rich people do that. But the reason why people did that is because when you pour tea or coffee and it happens to overflow, it goes into the salsa.
Oh, okay.
Then when it goes into the salsa, then you taste it. It's cooled off. And that's where you taste. Have you ever tried some hot coffee straight out of the cup?
Boy, you got to spit it out and you can't get it out.
Right?
And it get jammed up in your throat. And you say, hey man, I got to slow this one down a little bit.
Right. So it's that something that let me make sure that I'm whole first. Before I go into a relationship, let me make sure that I'm not bringing this broken man.
Right.
And bringing all of this baggage to my companion. Now I'm giving this person a half of a man, or a person that's broken. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So I think before you even indulge in a relationship, you need to be able to identify self and fix self. You know what I'm saying? And
do you think a person that's been in many broken relationships, do you think that person, if he finds someone, that person would be loyal to him? That one special person. But I believe if you've been in a lot of broken relationships, it's hard to trust somebody.
Well,
Or it depends on you.
thank you. That's where we tend to, is because that conflict. Okay, a person separates from another person in any kind of relationship is because of a conflict.
Right.
It's a
That's
problem.
true. That's true.
Right.
Right.
And that's what we tend to focus on. Is me against Clayton, our friendship.
Right.
It's me against my wife, our relationship.
Mhm.
It's me against my supervisor, is that relationship.
Mhm.
And the thing that we tend to skip over is the conflict within.
That's true.
So it must be something that's going on with me where I can't resolve the conflict within that would make me have a conflict with Clayton.
That's true. That's true. That is
So
true.
it still goes back to self. We have to develop and evaluate self to determine where we are.
Let me ask you this. A lot of these men, they controlling mind.
Why?
You're right.
Why?
Generational from what they have been observed. No one have taught them that's not the best way to deal with situation. But because you think I'm the man, she's supposed to listen to me and do as I say, not as I do. When you have that mentality, you don't grow up with it. How can you be an effective leader?
Okay, that's a person that's never, for my personal opinion. First of all, why would someone want to control someone else?
That's true.
Why? Just ask yourself why.
Insecure.
Why do you say again?
Insecure.
So where does that insecurity come from?
You're right.
Back to self.
So you got to go back to the origin.
You got to go back to this is the root cause.
Right.
This is the root cause, and we don't. In order to kill a weed, we got to kill a root.
That's right.
Right. So we don't want to deal with self. We want to deal with everybody.
That is true.
But self.
That's true.
I want to fix Clayton.
Right.
Even if you look at a marriage, a husband and spouse, and wife, and let's say both of them are spiritually inclined. Both of them is striving to be Christ-like, the Christians, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm focusing on me becoming better, and my spouse is focusing on her and becoming better, the closer we get to Christ, the closer we get to one another.
That's right. That is absolutely true.
But if I'm focusing on her, she focusing on me, we're going to push each other further apart.
Right. You're right.
So let me focus on me and trying to make myself better. She focus on her, trying to make herself better. And that's it's just the triangle effect, and we're going to become better.
As I know, since we had this conversation, you use a lot of spiritual content
because that's the man, that's the character in me.
And so that's spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
So everything we talk about, it sounds like we need that spiritual side of it first. I'm just noticing
No,
how you're using that spiritual side. You said something about first you got to believe in God. You said something earlier, and I said, "Wow, that's good, man." People,
right. Let me. That's my compass. That's my GPS. You know what I'm saying?
I got you.
That's what helps me navigate life. You know,
Right.
we like to say that life is a series of tests, right? And we like to use these cliches saying with no test, no testimony.
Right.
Let's just stay right there. If life is a series of tests, I like to believe that it's an open book test. If the Bible is where all of the answers is,
Right. Yeah, hey, I hear you. I'm with
we're
you.
taking an open book test, but it's not until we take the test, fail the test, now we want to go look for the answer in the book.
Right. I got you. Right.
So, hey,
I like that analysis.
you know, we tend to, you know, we look at the acronym Bible, Bible. We look at the word, and not to say that this is biblical, but it makes sense to me. We like to say that Bible stands for basic instruction before leaving earth. Bible. Basic instructions before leaving earth.
Wow.
Why is
I like
it?
that. I like that.
Why is it that we try to put this thing together, this thing called life, this thing called the human body, and try to, before we read the instructions? Have you ever tried to, here we go, we're in the Christmas time, and people's going to get some toys
Right.
where they got to assemble it, and they're going to try to assemble it
without reading instructions.
Without reading instructions, only to do what? Realize you got some leftover screws, something they ain't put together right. Then you know what you got to do? You got to disassemble it, read the instructions, and then put it back together.
So what should I have done the first time?
Read the instructions. Refer to the instructions. So we have the instructions that's called the Bible for those that believe. Mm-hmm. I'm a believer. I believe whether you believe or not, whether there is a God or there is no God, whether you believe or not Jesus or there is no Jesus, I believe, first of all, I am a believer. Mm-hmm. So I tend to use that as my guide, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't care if you're a believer or if you're not a believer, it can give you some good life principles to make you better.
That's true. That is absolutely true.
So I don't care if you believe or don't believe, read it, and it can help you along this journey that we call life. Now, whether you believe that there's an afterlife, whether you believe that there's a heaven or hell, that's on you. Right. But I believe there is some good information in this book that we call the Bible. Mm-hmm. You know, and I always like to say, Clayton, there's 3 things that you could do with the information. 3. You can use it, you can store it, or you can ignore it. Right. If you use the information, it turns to transformation. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, boy. I hear you.
If you store the information, it's documentation. And if you ignore the information, it's misinformation.
That's true.
Hey, so I would hate to get to the end of this journey called life, and there's an evaluator up there say, okay, come on, time to evaluate you. Mm-hmm. It's time to, you know, see how you did. Right. And now to want to turn around and say, oh, I didn't believe it was, well, I'm going to prepare just in case.
Okay. Now, Derek, I mean, it's just a little sense of humor. Uh-huh. When the Lord come back again, would he have just one list or would he have a supplemental list? Because if he don't call my name on the first, I'm thinking maybe a supplemental.
Oh, he coming back again.
I mean, is there a supplemental list, or he just gonna make sure that my list is already correct? If I didn't call your name,
I don't. That's between you and him. That ain't got nothing to do with me.
All right, I'm just asking.
See now you asking for me to affirm. We just talked about you got to affirm that for yourself.
That's true.
Okay, so let's get back to that. Let's get back to the R. We discussed the L and the D. For those that are just tuning in, you know, we're giving some tools in order to evaluate yourself. There's 20 for the 2024 you, and to ensure that you're better 2025. You can call it Project 2025, UL
Right.
Project. All
Right.
right. We're talking about our newly elect
Right.
president 2025. We're talking about Derek Taylor Project 2025, Clayton
Right.
Airline.
Right.
All right. So now we on R. It's loyalty and duty. Now we on R is respect.
Respect.
Do you respect yourself? Or are you sending mixed messages and say, yeah, I respect myself, but you're out here doing things that's totally disrespectful to self, but yet you expect others to respect you?
Well, there's some things I don't respect about myself, like talking down to Sergeant Taylor all the time.
Okay, now what you gonna do about it? So now this is where we are. We identified as a problem. All right. So now what is the problem? Talking down to Sergeant Taylor. That's
Right.
the what. Then you would say, so what?
That's being someone that really say don't care.
Now it's like, so what? Not being sarcastic, but that's a question format. It's like, okay, so what? But then you get down to the now what? Now what am I do? What am I
Right.
going to do about it?
That's true.
And we don't want to get there. Most people don't want to get to the now what am I do about it?
Right.
Okay, I'm a procrastinator. So what that I'm a procrastinator? This is the so what. So what that is, it affects your growth. It affects you. You possibly missed opportunities, missed deadlines. It's a lot of things that, just like you're saying, if you talk down on Sergeant Taylor. So what does that mean? The so what is it affects our friendship. It has the ability to affect this,
Right.
But then you get down to the now what? What am I going to do about me being a procrastinator?
Right.
And then most people don't want to execute. They want to put in the work
Right.
in order to become a better self.
Mm-hmm.
So do that say that you're a respectful person? If you that kind of person, you just hey, I am who I am. You're going to accept me for who I am, even the bad part about me. Is that being respectful of other people?
You just said a minute ago. First of all, you got to learn to respect yourself before you be able to respect everybody else.
Exactly.
So you telling me a lot. You don't respect yourself and you don't respect other people.
Exactly. And when somebody else identify that about you, that you're a person that disrespects self,
they're gonna come distant.
Exactly.
Right.
So again, these seven values, we're applying them to self. How are you presenting yourself to the world? Let's get there. Do you respect yourself? Are you dressing appropriate out here when you step out of the house? For men and women, you wearing these little short skirts and showing all your goodies
right.
And then you expect somebody to respect you.
And that's where you're gonna get a lot of disrespect on both sides.
Exactly. So we got to learn how to respect ourselves. We got to learn how to respect ourselves. The next one is selfless service. How do we take and apply selfless service to self? How is it possible to be selfish towards self?
Possible. Depends on your attitude.
Exactly. I do believe that, we could be selfish in our growth. Hey, I'm just stuck. Hey, I'm comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I'm in my comfort zone. And we see that a lot of people become complacent. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you don't want to put in the work again to make yourself better. So now you become selfish. Hey, where again, back to what we talked about, a bill, something from our spiritual teaching. It tells us that God gave us all talents, all a measure of talent.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think it's selfish not to nourish that talent and fulfill your purpose?
It is selfish.
in this journey that we call life, for those that believe.
Mm-hmm. It is selfish.
I think that's very selfish.
Mm-hmm.
That let's say Clayton the father brought Clayton Jr. a car, but Clayton Jr. neglect the car that his daddy bought him. Daddy worked hard, worked overtime, worked 3-4 jobs in order to get Clayton Jr. this car. because that's your son and you love him.
But
And
it's selfish service.
but then Clayton Jr. just neglect the car.
Right.
Let his friends drive the car,
Mhm.
wreck the car. Eh, Clayton Sr., he go in the car dirty, nasty, needs to be washed. He noticed that the oil ain't never been changed, and he just totally neglect the car. But Clayton Sr. gifted him his car. Hey, for Christmas. Hey, I love you, son. This is just a token of my appreciation. Hey, here you go. But then only for Clayton Jr. just to
Right.
neglect it.
Right.
How would that make Clayton Sr. feel?
Hey, it make me feel like I done lost money. I feel like he don't appreciate what I did for him, and this is what I get for all the hard work that I done put in. Look, he letting everybody drive the car. Look, muffin drop on the box. So again, my inner self gonna say, this is how he cared about me, the same way he cared about his car.
Okay. Now, let's flip it. God and us, our Heavenly Father, gifted us with a gift
Yep, you're right.
to serve a purpose, only for us
Serve others.
to neglect the purpose or neglect the gift or not nourish the gift. Hey, He gifted us all with the measure of talent. And we have a lot of people that's sitting on that talent. We have a lot of people that's doing nothing with God has gifted us. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So us as physical beings and physical fathers, that's how we would feel
Right.
if our child, our children, our hard-earned money, and we bought them a gift only for them to neglect the gift. It shows that you are not appreciative
Right.
of what dad has done for you. Same thing, I believe, with our spiritual father. God has given us all of this, this measure of talent only for us to neglect it.
That's true.
So how did God feel about us?
Well, you see, it go both ways.
Mhm.
And you saying, okay, I'm looking at just me and Derek's situation. Well, how do God feel about what you're doing?
Mm.
You know what he's saying. You're probably saying the opposite of what you're thinking.
Mhm.
Oh, I gotta go get that box.
Okay.
You-
I continue to,
Yeah.
but yeah, for our viewers, I don't know exactly, okay, who it is, but what we're doing is we're doing a self-assessment, a reflection of 2024, and we're just trying to give some tools that you can use in order to evaluate yourself. And just taking it kind of, Robin, from the military, some values. We covered loyalty, we covered duty, we covered respect, and we on selfless service. And now we're talking about honor. Those are an acronym for leadership, LDR, SHIP. And now we on honor, and we're learning to apply those things to ourselves. Before we can go out and lead others and be of service to others, we got to know how to service ourselves, and how to before we can honor others, we got to know how to honor ourselves. you know um, and if we can't, that tends to find itself in some of our relationship, that we can't honor friendships. We don't know how to honor our spouse. We don't know how to honor our families, because simply we don't know how to honor ourselves. Sometimes we got to learn to give self grace. We got to learn how to esteem self. We got to learn how to pat self on the back. So man, we're um, just trying to be better. Just trying to be better. It's if we continue to live, man, if we really continue to live a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, how are we going to show up? How are we going to show up a year from now? Are we going to be the same person in 2026 that we were in 2024 and 2025? 5 years from now, are we still going to show up the same? 10 years from now, we're going to show up the same. At some point in time, we just got to stop, do a reflection, do a review, an analysis, a self-evaluation, and try to make ourselves better one day at a time. Just one day at a time, because it's a process. You think about it, is some of the the old habits that we've developed that we just can't break them overnight, but we just got to learn to give ourselves grace. You know, we give everyone else grace. We just got to be able to give ourselves just a little bit of grace, you know. So we got to learn to honor ourselves. You know, we got to know who we are before we become successful at anything, regardless of what that you're striving to be or striving to become. You got to be self-aware. You got to know self. You got to know self. You know, and most of us we don't want to evaluate self. You know, so um, you know, just until my buddy comes back, I don't want to get too far ahead of us. So, man, just learn to evaluate yourself. 2024 uh, is coming to an end. We're getting ready to move into 2025. Do you desire to be better? Do you desire to be better? If you are satisfied with who you are, hey, continue to do what you do. But if you desire to be better, you can't continue to do the same thing and expect a better result. No, we got to change some things. You know, in the military, we call it a change orientation. You got to be able to change the direction that you're going in order to get to somewhere that you've never been. You know, we got to be able to, you got to be able to change our directions. You know, you got to be able to be willing to make those changes. You know, so if you but you got to have that desire. And the Bible tells us that he would give you the desires of your heart, you know. So you got to have that desire, you know. So we moved on, Clayton, to
H.
after, yeah, we moved to H, which is honor, you
Mhm.
know, and learning to honor self, you know, and
And when you say honor, when you say honor, you mean treat yourself, or what do you mean when you say
exactly. Okay, you know, just like standing uh before the church and God, and when you're getting ready to take two and join as one in
I
holy
got you.
matrimony, and they some vows that you say I would honor,
Okay,
you
God,
know,
oh great.
honor, love, cherish, obey. You know, what does that mean? Honor is it's something that you hold to a high esteem.
Right,
You know what I'm
right,
saying? It's like it's an honorable position. Just like when we separate from the military, we left with honorable status.
right.
Is that we did what we were supposed to
Supposed to do,
do.
right.
We were rewarded and received awards as such, and we are held. You know, it's like
I understand.
to be able to for the world to see. You know, you wouldn't take something that you honor and hide it in the corner.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right,
You know, we take our trophies because we worked and earned it, and we want to put that on the fireplace mantle for everybody to see it.
right,
I can't say that I honor my wife
right,
and I want to keep her inside.
right, right,
You know what I'm saying?
right.
I want to show her
See,
off.
well, when you said that about that, just use military for example.
Hmm.
Everybody get out of service. Either you honorable or you dishonorable. Are you other than honorable?
Exactly. So, which one would you prefer being recognized as?
Honorable.
Honorable, dishonorable, or other than honorable? What does other than honorable mean?
Hey, baby, you might. We can look at it, but you still ain't. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So, you know, and again, just like when you fulfill your duties and obligations to the military, you depart with honorable status.
Right.
You know, let's do what we're supposed to do for ourselves so
Hmm.
we can hold ourselves to an honorable status, that we honor the work that we've done.
Hmm.
That's what other people do. If you stay on a job for 20, 30 years, you leave with honorable status
Right.
because you've done what you're supposed to do for 20, 30 years, however long you were there.
Right.
So why we can't do that for ourselves?
You're right. Yeah. Well, hey, like I say, self should come first.
Should, but some people like to think that's selfish, putting
Hmm.
self first.
Hmm.
I don't know. I just need to, you know, have you ever flown on an aircraft before?
Oh, many times.
Many times. Eh, And when the stewardess give you the safety briefing, and they said, in case of a loss of pressure,
Right.
they're gonna have these masks drop down from the
Right.
ceiling.
Mhm.
And how do they tell you to put them on?
Mhm.
Say, put yours on
Don't put
first before you put your your dependents
baby
on.
or whatever it is.
Exactly. So you got to take care of self before you can take care of someone else.
That's true. That is true.
So I'm out here trying to take care of everybody else and neglecting self only for me to meet my demise. Now it hurts everybody.
Right.
It's like, how can I make a woman happy, which shouldn't be my responsibility, but how can I make this person happy when I can't make myself happy?
It's hard.
It's hard.
But you always gonna have a problem within.
Thank you. So now, exactly, because now it can create a conflict because I never dealt with
Mm-hmm.
honoring myself, I'm
Right.
making myself happy.
Right.
So as honor now to the eyes, integrity. What does that mean? What does being integral mean? Sometimes we kind of associate that with the group, with being with someone else. How we going to conduct
Loyalty.
ourselves?
And
It's
right.
basically doing what's right,
right.
even when nobody is watching. You know what I'm saying? To be that integral person is if I'm in a relationship with my wife and I'm
Mhm.
married, in her absence, I'm not going to mess with another woman.
Just a lack
You know
of
what I'm saying?
integrity.
It's a lack of integrity. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So is the integrity for the friend or is it for self?
But, well, again, if you're cheating, it's integral for yourself.
Uh,
If you're out there just other word, you're not loyal. Other
Mhm.
words, you're not honest. You're not honest to your wife because integrity means honest and
Yeah.
being faithful, being committed.
Yeah, but that should be for me.
Mhm.
Me having integrity is for me. It makes me feel good
Yeah,
that hey,
you're right.
these values that I wear around my neck like a badge of honor is for me.
Still self-esteem
And
coming in again.
it's for me. And simply because Clayton, you and I are friends, and I'm gonna be an integral person, you just get the byproduct.
Right.
Because I'm doing it for me. I'm not doing it for Clayton.
Right.
I'm a person that I have integrity for me. I'm doing what is right because it makes me feel good.
Right.
Not only does it
Even
make me
without
feel,
somebody looking.
even it says both legally and morally. Do what's right, both legally and morally. First of all, I call myself a Christian. I got to do what's right because it's
Right.
in the eyes of God.
Right.
And just because of that's who I am, Clayton is going to get the byproduct
Right.
of my integral characteristic. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? It's for me,
Mhm.
right? So, and we got to understand that, hey, uh, even when we think no one is watching,
Somebody always watching.
somebody's watching.
And you keep talking about the creator.
Somebody is watching. You know what I'm saying?
But
So,
Derek, you didn't see me though.
oh,
But you didn't see me though.
you're
But
right.
you say that because I didn't see, that don't mean nobody watching. Because we got somebody above that watches the whole world.
Thank you.
So our little eyes only gonna see what we want to.
Exactly. And that is called omnipresence. That for those of us that believe in God, that He is everywhere at all times.
Mhm.
So when you think you're by yourself and you're a believer,
Right.
He's right there
Right.
watching you.
No, you know what? Now, again, could you could you re-emphasize that loyalty or responsibility and go and give me just a little summary of
Loyalty, duty, loyalty,
loyalty, duty,
duty. I would like to add responsibilities in that because duties
LDR,
is responsibilities, duty, respect. That's LDR. It's an abbreviation for leader. And then SHIP, SHIP, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage is the last one.
Okay. All right.
Having personal courage, and what is the opposite of being courageous?
Not I mean, incourageous.
Being fearful.
Right.
having fear
Right.
and not being able to face your fears.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So personal courage meaning that, hey, I'm afraid to face my fear.
Mhm.
And we just spoke about that earlier. It could be pursuing a business. It could
Mhm.
be we allow other people to impose their fear upon us.
That's true.
Hey, boy, you know you can't become a lawyer. You
Yeah,
know you
you're
ain't
right.
smart enough.
Yeah.
You know, hey, you know you can't start no business. You know you don't know. Hey, you know you can't.
You're
You know,
right.
you know, and we allow other people to impose their fear on us. That's not an act of being courageous. That's not courage.
Mhm.
It's not, especially it's not personal courage. In order to become somebody that you've never been, you're gonna have to face your fears.
Right. That's true.
You're gonna have to face your fear. And we're talking about the person that I need to be.
Mhm.
Those 7 values, which is under the character of the person. You have to be courageous. You have to have personal courage, you know,
Mhm.
because man, this thing that's called fear would hinder us from becoming who God has destined us to be.
Right.
You know, so you have to be courageous. You know, you got to be able to face your fear. Let me give you an example. All right. We just went through a presidential election,
Mhm.
right? And the president, along with Congress, act as our leaders,
Right.
right? Now, let's take all 7 of those values and apply them to that leadership, right?
Right.
But now let's go. Let's skip loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity. Let's go to personal courage. Okay, where you going with this, Derek? Our leadership just displayed an act of fear that they're not courageous. They are our leaders, but they allowed one man
Right.
to cause them to threaten to shut the government down because they were not courageous.
Right. Big. I see. I'm following you.
You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yes.
We allowed one man because of his status, because of his influence, because of his wealth, you know, because of his economical status to say something to cause them to retreat in fear.
Right.
What is that to say about our leadership? You can take that and evaluate our current leadership. Are they loyal or disloyal? Are they fulfilling the duties and responsibilities? Do they tend to respect us? Are they acting in selfless service? Do they honor their position and honor the country? Do we think they being integral? And now down to personal courage. To me, that just showed me and should have showed the world
Right.
who we have and who we choose and elect and select as leaders is really not leaders
Right.
based on just evaluating the character under those 7 values.
Derek, we can take those same characters, and me, I'm just gonna speak out. Take them same characters, and the leader that we put in there, I'm just gonna have to say it doesn't meet not one of those standards.
So,
And that's my personal opinion
mhm,
because I'm looking at background.
mhm,
I'm looking at what you've been accused of.
mhm.
How can you be an effective leader if you got all of these charges against you, but money, the fear that now you in, y'all can do what you want to do now. Shut up. The boys who I put in there, y'all
Mhm.
better do what I say, not as I do.
And you're right, you know, and sometimes again, environment, outside influence, what
Right.
other people are doing, we tend to allow ourselves to drift instead of holding ourselves
Right.
accountable. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Not evaluating ourselves. We evaluate ourselves based on other people's behavior.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
We
true.
evaluate, I'm gonna say that again. We evaluate ourselves on other people's character.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So now you start to evaluate yourself not based on what you should be, is based on,
That's true.
you know what I'm
I
saying?
mean,
So and if you're not careful, just people in general, if you're not careful, it'll cause you to drift. You know what I'm saying? It's just like driving, you know, if I'm looking straight ahead, I can keep it between the lines.
Mhm.
But if I tend to
Right. Exactly.
look around,
Right.
I drift over.
Yeah, that's
You know
right.
what I'm saying? So for me, is it good to be aware? Yes.
Yes.
It's great to be aware of others, but we're talking about self-awareness.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just trying to bring it back home to self, but also letting our viewers know that you can take those 7 values, which is what a leader must be, and evaluate yourself as a leader. First of all, evaluate yourself as a leader for self. If you're a parent, evaluate yourself as your parent, as a parent. If you're a spiritual leader, evaluate yourself as a spiritual leader. If you're a corporate leader, evaluate yourself as a corporate leader. If you're a political leader, evaluate yourself as a political leader. Whatever industry that you're in and whatever seat that you hold, whatever title that you might possess, just use those 7 values to evaluate yourself and be truthful with self. You know, and we're going to come back later on another segment at the beginning of the year, and I have these things that's called the Forward Focus 14. The Forward Focus 14, and it's just some other key elements that we can evaluate ourselves by. You know, and as evaluate, I don't know if we could do a self check. You know, if you want to call it evaluation, if you want to call it an assessment, if you want to call it a reflection or whatever it is, it's just 7 or 14 elements that we can take. We keep the 7 that we have.
Right.
It's got 14. Just, hey, evaluate yourself. Do a self-assessment. And that's just for those that have a desire to be better. You know, some people are just, they find with who they are and where they are. You know, they just comfortable.
Well, you know, sometimes you get in that comfort zone. You cannot move up forward because you feel that I'm at my limit, and I don't want to go. I don't want to go higher. I'm gonna stay right where I'm at.
And why?
Because I'm comfortable. Because that's where my assessment's at.
Yeah, you know, and I would say that a comfort zone is a form of captivity. Right? It's a form of captivity. You think about people that are comfortable, it tends to hold them in said location or said position. If you go in the house and get in your bed and you get comfortable,
Right.
you be like, man, boy, I ain't going nowhere. Hey, come on, man, let's come on. Man, I ain't going nowhere.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you have to be careful with that. And then people don't want to go to higher heights because they're afraid, because of fear.
That's true.
You know, so it's that too. So we fear.
Right.
Hey, I'm good where I am.
Right.
Clayton climbing up, he way up here, like, man, look, come on, man, it look beautiful up here, man.
Right.
It's great. The air is it's a
I can't
different
wait.
level. Hey, they come on, man, and you becking for him to call, like, nah, I'm good.
No, I'm good, baby.
Guess why? Because you're afraid of, you know, you're afraid, you know. But we don't hold you know, let's go ahead on, man. Let's conclude this again. Let's just talk about the 7 values, just to reflect on, evaluate ourselves, to close 2024, and to usher us into 2025, just to make us better.
Right.
And we're going to try to become better one day at a time. Hey, how do we eat an elephant? I know we don't eat elephant.
One piece at a time.
One bite at a time. How do we run a 26-mile marathon? One step at a time.
Exactly.
You know, so let's not think that we can, you know, fulfill a mission or reach an objective, you know, and just these leaps and bounds and do it overnight. It's a process.
Right.
You know, so let's come back to next year, 2025. This time next year, 2025, and evaluate yourself, you know, and just kind of say, okay, or along the way, you know, develop some checkpoints.
Right.
You know, if it's at the end of the month or at the end of the week, stop and evaluate yourself and say, hey, am I better today than I was yesterday? Am I better this week than I were last week?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you have these little checkpoints along the way. We know what the mission is for the whole year. The objective is at the end of the year, December 2025, is to be a better you.
Right.
But hey, have some checkpoints along the way where you stop and evaluate. And if you need to change your orientation,
Right.
change your directions, you can do so those little small steps along the way.
Right.
If you need to
Right.
do it week by week, hey, that's 52 checkpoints.
Right.
If you want to do it day by day, you know.
And also you might want to just let them know that these are free leadership courses that
Oh
we
yeah.
also go out and
Yes.
we can do also come evaluate your organization, but you also want to let them know that the courses that you offer, the safety course, and that's a different subject,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
nice to let them know that,
Yes.
hey,
Exactly. I'm glad you mentioned that for those that are watching. That's a new year, new me, new year, new us. You know, we will be offering OSHA classes, occupational safety, OSHA 10 and 30 for those that are working out in the oil and gas industry or working in the construction industry, and you're trying to better yourself for career progression, career development. We will be offering those courses. Also, CPR, first aid, AED. Are you out working in a place that requires you to be certified, or you just want to do it as a, 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 a career booster, a resume booster? You can add that to your focus of development. But also, we're going to be offering some NCCR classes because we're adding an adult ed to our early childhood ed by way of what's called NCCR. And we're going to be offering safety, construction site safety tech, and also pipe fitter. So
oh wow,
those are two accreditations or two certifications that we'll be
pipe
offering.
fitters.
Yeah, pipe fitter and
Oh,
safety.
hey, that's what we
And
talking about, serious cash once you get.
right. And for those of us, for those of you that are working out in the oil and gas industry, and you are considered a subject matter expert in your craft, hey, get with us. We're going to be looking for instructors. So if you're looking to get off your tools or looking to earn some extra income, it's going to be night classes, maybe from 6 to 10. Come on out. We're looking for some instructors that can help develop some of our youth as well as some of our adults. So hey, give us a shout.
How do they get it?
Yeah,
Give your address.
You reach me at my email is derrick.taylor22. That's DERRICK Taylor, TAYLOR, the number 22 at yahoo.com. Or you can reach me at Derrick, DERRICK Taylor, TAYLOR TLC at gmail.com. That's Derrick.Taylor TLC at gmail.com.
And also, if you want to get hold to me, it's Arline, CAJ at gmail.com. Arline, ARLINE, CAJ at gmail.com. And also, if you want to get hold to us again, you can call us at 985-606 and 2200. Just leave us a message.
Yes, and definitely on our YouTube channels,
Yes.
you can reach. We have a couple YouTube channels. I have my own personal one. Clayton have his own personal, but we have one that we have together for our podcast. And the one for the podcast, you can find that at the @ symbol NCODP. That's NCODP, and with the @ symbol. And also my YouTube channel is Derrick.Taylor, Derrick Taylor _22. So all of my handles for my social media is Derrick.Taylor. And you'll see me in my military uniform because we're going to be offering some classes. We're just going to be doing some classes. We're also going to be doing some consulting work as well. So just come out and get some materials to help you grow, because we're all about growth.
And also, you can check my YouTube channel out also. It's Clayton Arline 2942 YouTube.
Mhm.
So again, make sure when y'all look at all our video, make sure you hit the subscription button.
Right, to
Subscribe to us.
Right.
And that's how we want to grow. And we can grow if you keep subscribing, getting our notifications.
Exactly. It's all about growth, man. It's personal growth.
Yeah.
Is the things that we're doing is to help for personal development, personal growth, professional development, professional growth. it's just growth, man.
Right.
You know, it's the growth mindset is what we're trying to achieve. Instead of having a fixed mindset, let's develop a growth mindset. So you know, we greatly appreciate, you know, you loaning your ear to us. We don't take it lightly, you know. So in hopes that something that was said can be a nugget. You can find a nugget in there somewhere. So we greatly appreciate your time. And Clayton and I, we always like to conclude our podcast with ready, set, grow. Okay, that's what it is. It's all about growth. We don't want to just continue to grow old without growing up. All right, so it's all about growth. Y'all have a blessed day.
Good job, Derek.